Alrighty. All right, whenever you're ready.
Oh, you want me to intro?
Yeah, why not?
This doesn't.
Like
You haven't done it yet.
For this.
I know.
That's true.
Welcome back to the Wagon Sports Podcast. This week is June 13th. This is your podcast coming on Monday night. We're coming to you before
It'll come out
Game
Tuesday
5,
morning.
Tuesday morning. So you'll have the results from Game 5, but we're recording before then. As George and Nick would say, the always weekly, never weekly podcast is here for you guys to listen to. This week, we had the NHL move into the finals. We have the NBA going into Game 5 tonight. It'll be going to Game 6 when you guys listen to this. We had a great race at Sonoma. We had the golf world, which seems to be the most exciting thing right now because you have the LIV Tour and the PGA. And what's happening there, we'll talk about. And then we have our top 5 at the end. So to get into it, our NBA review for the week, we have the Celtics at the Warriors Monday night, 9 p.m. The Warriors just tied it up to go 2-2 with the Celtics. George has Boston winning that in 7 games. Nick has them at 6. I have the Warriors in 6. Do you boys still keep with the same numbers? Do you think they're changing? Nick, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I was thinking about this a little bit. I think I'm going to stick with it. And I really only have one thing to add to what I've already said about this series. It's pretty much been proven that Steph is going to have to beat the Celtics. Obviously he has some help, but we've seen in the games that he plays very well when he plays like you expect Steph to play. Those are the games that they've won. So, like I said, really the only thing I have to add, if the Warriors are going to win, Steph is going to have to, be dropping, I'd say 30 plus at the minimum, every night.
Yeah, to expand on your point, I'd push up he has to be shooting damn near 40 points, if not more, to keep them in. It's been well documented throughout the whole playoffs, but Draymond just sucks. Like, there's no other way for me to put that.
His mom tweeted about it.
Yeah, like he is absent on offense, and literally the only thing he's bringing to the table is his physicality and mental warfare against the other team, which granted is very much needed, but there has been plenty of times in the first 4 games that they have really needed him to step up on offense, and he just hasn't been able to do it. Klay Thompson has not looked bad, but again, he's not looking like the old Klay Thompson. You think back to, I believe it was 2017 or 18 when they played the Raptors. He was carrying that team basically the whole way through the playoffs, and he gets hurt, and that was ultimately their downfall. Durant was already hurt. I think Steph was already out. And so ever since that injury, he's still one of the best players in the NBA. But if he would be so much better, I think Golden State sweeps this series. It's just everything is on Curry right now. Even their bench has not been performing up to expectations. We talked about it coming into the series. It was going to come down to the benches, and we thought Golden State had a little bit better bench. Boston just had a better starting 5 overall, and that bench just really has not lived up to those expectations. They've definitely played great at times, but not to the point where I would say they had a better bench than Boston. As far as my prediction, I'm sticking with Boston in 7. You see the 2 teams right now just trading blows back and forth. They've both shown that they can win on the road. Now they need to stop bitching and moaning a little bit, like Golden State did after Game 3. Listen, you need to understand that those Boston fans, it's East Coast fans in general, do not give a shit about your feelings. They don't give a shit if kids are in the crowd. They're not acting any different than they did in the regular season with chanting at these players, saying all these things. You need to get over it. If you don't like it, tough shit. They're not going to change. They can't ban 20,000 people from the arena to never come back. And if the second they do, the next 20,000 come in and are going to do the same shit 3 times worse. So you got to deal with it. It's part of the game. You got Draymond fucking with them. You're going to have the crowd fucking with you. Get it together, move on, and get over it.
All right. So Nick, you said you're sticking with 6. George, you said you're sticking with 7. Both with Boston as champion.
Yep.
I think that the only way that Golden State loses this is if they lose tonight. I think that Golden State has the perfect situation. They have game 5 and game 7, if necessary, at home. I think that game 7 at home, they've been there. They've gotten to play a game 7 in their home court, new court for them in Chase Center. But same thing. I think that the only downfall is I think that if they go to game 7, I think they lose at home. I think that if they win tonight and Steph has a crazy game, Draymond keeps his mouth shut. I mean, Draymond needs to be like the antagonizer and like get their team kind of like on their toes, kind of like making them pissed off and everything, make them overshoot or undershoot baskets just to kind of make them. I mean, if he gets Jason Tatum to miss 3 baskets, I mean, that's 12-point or possibility of up to 12 points with fouls that he missed. And game 6, I don't know the exact stat, but in the playoffs, Klay Thompson is damn near perfect in game 6s.
Yeah.
Dude goes off. Dude goes. I don't think that he scored less than 30 points in a game 6 in his playoff career. He always has like 6, 7, at least 3-pointers. It's ridiculous what game 6 brings out in him. So I think that if Curry can overachieve tonight and get into the 40s like you had talked about, and that Draymond can kind of take a backseat when it comes to needing to be the like guy that's talked about for the game.
Yeah.
And I think the person that plays the biggest part in this whole ordeal is Jordan Poole. I think Jordan Poole needs to have a 20-point game. I mean, the dude averaged 20 points throughout the season. He needs to have a 20-point game to get this going. I think if that happens, Golden State wins in 6. I think that doesn't happen. I think that it's a 50-50 for game 7. I mean, Golden State has game 7, the experience, everything at home. But Boston, I mean, how much longer are they going to be able to keep this young core together? Are they going to be able to do what Golden State's been able to do and keep? I mean, the crazy part about these two teams is that these are built teams, not bought teams. So it'll be interesting to see how their team looks after this year. Both teams, to be honest, because I mean, if Golden State doesn't win, they've already given contract extensions to everyone. Like they can't bring in anyone else, so they're going to end up having to start offloading some of these contracts into other teams to be able to get more people in, or figure something else out. I don't know, but yeah, I'm still sticking with Golden State in 6.
The last thing I just want to say about this real quick, and going back to the crowd, is I'll be interested to see how the Warrior fans act tonight. Now, listen, they have always been very loud in the playoffs. It's always been a tough environment come playoff time. But I'll be interested to see if they try to either mimic the Boston-like atmosphere and, chant all these things or whatever. That's just not – if that does happen, I feel like it's going to be very awkward and weird because this is not the crowd that you would expect that from. And so they're not used to doing that. It's a bunch of rich, uppity assholes in California who just like to watch basketball. So that'll be something interesting to watch. Be like, oh, look, if Boston fans can do it, we can do it. And it's like, no, you're going to sound stupid and it's going to be hilarious. But I think it'll be fun and interesting to see if that happens.
For sure. Moving on to our NHL review, we had the Lightning send home the Rangers. I was very upset. I mean, we all picked the Rangers, I believe, in that series.
I did it out of spite. I will say that. That's the only reason I picked the Rangers. Is I did it out of spite. I don't care. I will take the fucking L on that. But fuck the Rangers. Fuck their fans.
I understand.
Also, the fan who just decided it was okay to punch somebody walking out of Game 5.
The sucker punch is fucked. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and listen, obviously it was a New York fan, but the thing is like I never understood why there's two fans that I hate. It's the fans who get so upset that they feel they need to punch somebody, especially if you're getting heckled. And the second is the people who feel the need to make death threats towards players who like blew the game or whatever. Two types of fans I will never understand and support. But yeah, just fuck the Rangers, fuck their fans. I'm glad that they're out of the playoffs at this point.
Unfortunately, I think the gambling and how accessible it is now has brought out that a lot more for people because it's affecting their livelihood. Like they've overbet on the team, their team loses, and they're blaming that one person.
I absolutely agree.
That's the problem. Like, but like you said, the Lightning beat the Rangers game 7. Game 7, right? Yeah.
6.
And
Six.
It was
6.
6.
Sorry. And the Avalanche keeping the movement going. The Avalanche are going to be at home for the Stanley Cup Finals on Wednesday for Game 1.
Mhm.
What are your guys' picks? I'm going to go to Nick first.
Yeah, so I just wanted to touch on one thing with the Lightning Rangers series. End of that game, I believe the last 2 minutes, maybe slightly longer, but not very long at all. They were trying to get something going. They had the empty net, and Zibanejad had two, for being playoff hockey, I'll call them great one-timer chances. The first one was probably his best one, and he sent it about a foot over the net. So, that's going to eat at him for sure. He's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. And those are the chances, especially when you're talking playoff hockey in an elimination game. You got to make those. The second one was on target, just a great stop. And I also wanted to mention in elimination games, I don't pronounce his name correctly. I'm not even going to attempt it.
Vasilevsky.
Yes, thank you. He has, I believe it was 6 shutouts. So I mean, I guess you could count a moral win, and you scored against him in a elimination game. But nonetheless, Rangers going to be a little upset. Tampa Bay looking good though. This is going to be a great series. I'm calling Colorado in 7. Honestly, I feel like you could flip a coin on this. I think that Colorado is the better team, but Tampa Bay obviously just wants it. I feel like every series that they've gone through so far, they've one up themselves. They've reached another level every single series. So this is going to be insane. I doubt with my work schedule I'll be able to watch a whole lot of it, but if it is on and I'm awake, it will be on one way or the other.
Yeah, so like you said, Colorado been on a tear, and then Tampa Bay looking for a three-peat. George, what are your thoughts on the series? Do you have any more about the Lightning Rangers or the Oilers Avalanche, and then your pick for the Stanley Cup Finals?
Just the last thing on the Rangers. Listen, like I said, I hate them. I hate their fans. But at the end of the day, they need to be very, very happy with how far they got. I mean, this is a team that nobody thought was going to make the playoffs at the start of the year. They were still in the rebuild. They signed a lot of these, big name players, and they had the team there. But they had a lot of struggles last year, and nobody expected them to even make the playoffs. Or if they did, they'd be like a wild card or something like that. They end up the 2 seed in the Metro Division. I feel like at that point, a lot of people had them to win the first round, but they're like, look how stacked the Eastern Conference is, and the playoffs are not making it that far. So at the end of the day, they need to sit down and look and be like, listen, we probably overachieved a little bit, but hey, we know what we have here, and I think that is definitely going to be a team going forward that is going to be, very hard to beat. With Zibanejad, Panarin, you have it, at least at this point, what looks to be an all-time great goaltender. Listen, it's a 2-year sample size. We don't want to get carried away. And he had a very, very big standout year this year. We'll have to see. But as a fan base, as a team, you got to understand that you are set up in position to have years and years of success if you can keep it together. On to this series, I'm going to take Tampa in 7, and it's not a dig on Colorado. I think Colorado is, like you said, Nick, probably the better team on paper. And, they have a great team. My biggest concern with them is goaltending. We saw it a lot, especially when Kemper went out. I don't know if he'll be back or not, and what his capacity will be if he's going to be 100%. But that's a concern when you lose your best goaltender, and even then, he's not as good as Vasilevsky. Tampa, like you said, has proved throughout the playoffs that they want it more. And I think everybody's been ragging on them that, the last 2 years were flukes. 2020, it was a COVID year, and it was just a bunch of bullshit that happened. That championship doesn't count. Last year, it was kind of the same thing. You played a scrub Montreal team in the finals. That shouldn't have counted. And I'm not disagreeing with that. I will state that, especially last year more than any year, is probably a little bit of a bullshit championship, but regardless, they had to get through everybody else to get there first. And I feel like they've kind of understood that chip on their shoulder, especially towards the end of the regular season. They really started to struggle. Everybody's like, this isn't the team to do it. They have gone out time and time again, proved they are the team to do it. I don't want them to three-peat, honestly. But at the same time, if they go out there and earn it, you can't take that from them. Like I said, Vasilevsky is probably the best goaltender in the NHL right now. Steven Stamkos, one of the best captains in the league. They have Nikita Kucherov, who's just an anytime goal scorer. He can go out there and get you a goal anytime you need. But this is going to be a great back and forth series. You're going to have games that either have 10 goals in them or games that have 2 goals in them. And it's going to come down to who can win more of those games. I just have Tampa Bay winning, mainly because of the experience. Like I said, it really hurts Colorado that their goaltending isn't up to par. And, they've been on rest. We just saw Tampa Bay come off of a sweep. They rested for a couple days, and then they had to get right back into a series. They were rusty the first 2 games. And then as soon as they knocked that rust off, you saw what kind of team they were. And they have the most momentum. So, yeah, I'm going to take Tampa Bay in 7.
Yeah, I think like you guys had said, it's both teams have their positives. It's definitely as close to a coin flip as it can be. I think that Colorado has shown that they've been the best team when it comes to. I mean, they've only lost 2 games in the postseason. But I think that the Lightning, after going 2 years winning, they have a chance for the three-peat. The hard part about that is that while other teams have had opportunities for their guys to get surgeries, to get different things, I mean, surgery doesn't mean that they needed it at that time. Like some of these guys, like they might have made it deep into the playoffs last year. Whoever played Tampa Bay last year,
Montreal.
One of those guys, they might have been like, I'm not going to be able to have that surgery this season. So then they wait till this offseason. Montreal again makes midway through the playoffs. So like there might be some guys on Tampa Bay's team that have needed a surgery for the past 2 years, but they haven't taken it because they don't have the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's going to be a lot of wear and tear. 3 years in a row of making the finals is just, excessive.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the amount of games that they play. I think that I'm taking Colorado in 6 just because they're at home. I think that they get out to an early lead. I mean, they've blown out their opponent. Other than the Oilers, who they let score 6 goals. I mean, they could have easily 8-0'd or 8-1 them in the first game. But like you had said, they have the vulnerability at goalie. But I'm taking them at 6, mainly because I think that they're just going to be too hard to stop. I think even if Tampa is able to have their good goalie working and score a couple goals, that they only get 1 or 2 games. So that's where I'm sitting at.
And for everybody listening at home, Slade is new to hockey. He doesn't understand that Montreal was eliminated from playoff contention before the All-Star break. So we forgive him for that. It's okay.
Wait,
He's still learning.
Who was the Leafs?
That's Toronto.
Oh fuck. Okay.
So yeah, there's.
That's all
right. We're gonna take one episode here soon, and
Montreal could have had all the surgeries they needed. Never mind.
So we're gonna take
the point. We got the point.
We're gonna take one episode here soon and just explain to Slade for an hour what hockey is and the teams. And stuff.
He never got the explanation.
Necessary. I need to pick a team. We got all these things to do.
Yeah, clearly he never listened to the Hosier show when we had it.
Yeah,
but it's okay.
I listened to the fucking Hosier show, boy.
He knew the intro. That's what matters.
Yep.
That was the best part.
Do you guys have any more on hockey? Are you ready to move into golf?
I'm ready to talk about golf. We got a lot to talk about with golf.
All right. So I'm just going to go down through this, and then we'll go to each of you and your thoughts. First up is Roy had a massive weekend. He wasn't one of the front runners going into Sunday. He ended up shooting 8 under par, winning the tournament, the Canadian Open. At the end, he was interviewed. He basically slammed his nuts on the table by referring that he just secured his 21st major or tournament win. One more than someone else. Referring to Greg Norman.
Yep.
And who is the CEO of LIV Golf, I believe.
He's a big head over there. I can't remember his exact title.
But I think he's like the head, like spokesperson, basically.
Yeah.
But they gave him like CEO or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, he had a massive tournament. We were all texting about how, Justin Rose had a massive Sunday. Um,
2 inches away from 59,
yeah, just
which would
so
have been
much.
the course
Yeah,
record, I believe.
Well, the
if I
thing is too
remember
is
correctly.
he had 3 bogeys. If he
Right.
shoots
Yeah.
par,
Yeah.
fuck 59. He's at 57, 56.
Yeah.
So that was the craziest part.
just a crazy weekend, and it couldn't have happened at a better time because
Yeah.
this was the first weekend that they're pairing up against the Live Tour. I think that I saw someone that made a comment and said we got to get the Live Golf League on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday because you can just do golf all week instead of having to do
Oh, yeah.
side by side screens.
Yeah.
I'd be about it. I'm here for it.
Right. And so on the Live side, it's crazy. We saw 48th place guy who shot plus 24 for the weekend secure $120,000 for last place. Could this be a problem for the PGA? Also, Charles Schwartzel, who was the winner of the tournament in London, he got $4 million, a little over $4.25 million at the tournament. Just ridiculous payouts there. So, George, what are your thoughts on this weekend? Your thoughts on different comments like Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, just everything that happened golf wise this weekend.
Yeah. I don't know if we got enough time, but I'll keep it as brief as I can.
Bullet points.
Listen, at the end of the day, I feel like no matter what group or country or whatever would end up being behind another sponsored golf league, the PGA wouldn't be happy with it. I feel like it's just more stress. They have more attack points to go after it because it's Saudi backed and the Saudi government has a laundry list of issues. And listen, they're very right in their points to be upset about that and go after that. At some point, you got to just shut up. Okay. Like we understand you hate it. You don't want people going there. Okay. You don't need to make a press release every day and have a 30-minute interview after the Canadian Open talking about it, all your issues you have with it and the people going there, all this other stuff. At some point, you got to understand people are going to leave. They're going to go over there. You got to focus on your own tour because if you spend enough time worrying about what's going on over there, you're going to ruin your own product. In regards to the PGA, this is the best weekend they could have possibly asked for with everything going on. You had arguably 2 of the most loved faces in the PGA Tour battling it out on Sunday. Tony Finau, who, I'm not a fan of, but he is, a young guy who has come up through the ranks and has gained a lot of fans, and is a very respectable golfer. And you had the 3 of them battling out on Sunday. At no point, even walking up 18, did you think, oh, Rory's got this in the bag. He's out of it. He was 6 shots up, and Justin Thomas drained 5 birdies in a row, and he only made up 1 shot, which was crazy to me. Then Rory starts slipping a little bit in the back 9. Thomas ties it going to 17, and even Finau was 2 shots off. So at no point did you want to turn that TV off. And so, overall, it was the best weekend they could have asked for. It was a great tournament. Super happy for Rory, and it was great for him to win because, like I said, he's been talking not necessarily the most shit in regards to the golfers that left. It's just the company or the product that LIV is offering. So he goes out there and he puts his money where his mouth is, and he wins the RBC with a stacked field. The first time they were back in Canada, I think in 3 years now. That the crowd there was awesome. The 16th hole where they had the hockey boards, around the whole hole, and the fans are sitting there slapping them the whole time. That was awesome to see. I compared it to the Waste Management Open back in February.
Oh yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Now, as far as both tournaments going or both series going forward, from the PGA's perspective, you have to hate LIV Golf. I understand that, but you also need to look at it and be like, hey, there's a couple things that they're doing that we could use to improve our game. Maybe have a couple tournaments throughout the year that are three-day tournaments. We don't need, every single week in, week out tournament to be 4 days. Have it 3 days, either a smaller field or just cuts after the first day, whatever it may be going forward. And I don't hate the guys that left the PGA. I mean, I do lose a little respect for them, especially more than anything, Phil Mickelson, just because of the comments he was making, all that stuff, whatever. But they're going there because 1, they get more money, and 2, like Dustin Johnson came out and said, he gets a lot more weeks off now. At the same time, kind of feel weird about that because nobody is required, other than like maybe sponsors when they're sponsoring an event. You don't have to go play in a tournament. Obviously, if you want to make money, you need to. But at the same time, I feel like the PGA could raise their purses a decent amount. I would not pay the last place guy $120,000. I feel like that's little fucking ridiculous. But that's them. On the LIV Golf side, you need to get bigger names in there. I was thinking about this last week. All the guys they've signed are either guys who are washed up or not really that good to begin with. Dustin Johnson has 2 major wins in his career, and ever since that Masters win, his career has kind of been on a downward trajectory. Mickelson had 1 big surprise win at the PGA last year. Other than that, he's struggling to make cuts. The only player they really signed that I was sad to see go and that I think has a lot of potential was Taylor Gooch. I'm a big fan of him, and I really hope he is successful with his career. But at the same time, he's hasn't made that much money on the PGA Tour. LIV Golf comes out, offers some X amount of dollars. I don't hate the guys for taking the money. Obviously, if somebody offered me 125 million, it'd be very hard for me to turn that down. So I don't hate on them. I just wish the backing government was a little bit better, and maybe a company rather than a government itself. But we'll have to see going down the road if any relationships are repaired, and so on and so forth. But yeah, overall, LIV Golf has a lot to do to gain fans. I mean, we saw barely anybody was there. They need a TV deal more than anything. Oh my God, Nick, I thought that was my cat behind. I thought you were me for a second. I just saw a cat. I was like, wait a minute, that's not behind me. Anyway, but they need a TV deal. Not everybody has YouTube streaming or whatever and is going to be able to watch it. So they have a lot of kinks to work out to become a viable option. And we'll see where that goes. Overall, it was a great tournament for the RBC. Now a lot of these LIV Golf guys are coming over to do the US Open. It's been very interesting reading the interactions between players on Twitter that the media's observed. It'll be interesting to see if these guys go head to head with the PGA guys and how that goes. But we'll have to wait and see.
Nick, what are your thoughts on this past weekend's golf action, both leagues? Rory's comments, Dustin Johnson, Phil Mickelson, everything.
Yeah, so as far as the beef here between the leagues, I don't have a whole lot to say. My biggest thing is like, obviously there's more money with LIV, less weekends, that you have to work, so to speak. But at the same time, golf to me, like when I think of golf, and I understand that it's, starting to change a little bit and things are getting a little different. But when I think of golf, like I think of prestige, like especially the good golfers, the great golfers, I should say, they're kind of up on that higher pedestal. And sort of like we talked about John Rahm and in Mexico, yeah, you're getting paid extra money, and yeah, you might have some less weekends off, but you're going out there and competing against a lesser pool of talent overall. At least as it sits right now. There's obviously a couple, good golfers. Dustin Johnson, for example, is the first person that comes to mind. Even Schwartzel, but it's not the same competitive, like loaded field. Like when you looked at the top 10 on Sunday in Canada, there were some names up there that was like, holy shit. And you could have been sitting like I think it was Rose actually shortly before he finished. And they were like, yeah, he's in the top 10 now. Oh, no, because he was up higher. It might have been somebody else. But either way, they're like, oh, he's in the top 10 now, but there's a lot of names in between him and Rory. Is he really in that much contention? And, just to me, that's the biggest thing that sticks out with that. Like, yeah, you're competing, you're making more money, all that stuff. But as the competitor in me, I'd rather be going out there making less money and competing against, the betters of the world than I would, obviously if the decision was mine to be made, like it's kind of hard to say this, but nonetheless, like morally, I'd rather be facing the best of the best than, going out and maybe only playing 2 or 3 of the best of the best. So, again, we talked about this before the show. I understand both sides, so I don't have a whole lot to say about it. As far as the tournament that went on, I had it on just about every second that I could. I didn't watch a whole lot Thursday and Friday, other than after I got off work, but Saturday and Sunday, especially Sunday, I mean, my God, you know, you guys kind of, or George kind of touched on like the competition of the whole thing. You know, walking up to 18, didn't know who was going to win at that point for sure. But the whole day and all throughout the leaderboard, it was an absolute exhibition on how you're supposed to play golf. Like I was watching, I forget what hole it was, but the whole placement was roughly about like 6 yards, maybe a little less than that, in front of a ridge. And people were just hitting that ridge all day with the backspin, letting it roll back to the hole. I mean, it like as someone who can barely get their irons off the ground, like I'm sitting there like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. And continuously, and then you got to the final pairing and or the final trio. And though they were starting to, you know, miss some shots, obviously the fatigue of playing 4 days, especially at that kind of level, you could tell was getting to them. And that's not an easy course to play with, especially those back couple holes anyway. But they were still like Rory. Actually, I believe all three of them had it in the one hole in the back half of the back nine had ended up either in the rough or, you know, at least they weren't on the fairway. And they hit their second shots. The next thing you know, they're all in contention, you know, for par birdie. And it's like, oh my God. So that was, as someone who's still relatively new to golf, that was exciting as hell. Um, and as a Justin Thomas fan, like I was on the edge of my seat, especially when, like George said, Rory started slipping there towards the end. I was like, here goes JT on another climb on Sunday. But just fun. Fun doesn't even cover it, but it was great golf to watch. And, you know, coming up next weekend, we have a pretty relatively similar, you know, course as far as the way it plays. You know, from what I've heard, a little more challenging, but nonetheless similar play at least. So should be a good preview for what we have to come. And I'm excited. Let's keep it going.
Just the last thing I want to say about this past weekend with RBC, watching JT and Rory walk down fairways, like jabbing each other. Like Rory's like, oh, you can fit a Walmart in between our two. Like that shit was hilarious. I love that. And then like both one would hit a good shot, the other one looks over like, hey, thumbs up, like good job. Like watching the mind games, but the jesting, and then just how much fun those two had together. That was probably the best part of the weekend, and I loved it.
I wouldn't consider Finau necessarily one of the best putters on the tour usually, but he had a really good weekend doing it. And watching that final pairing, it was like Rory, arguably best driver on the tour, JT, arguably best, you know, iron and wedge player on the tour, and then Finau's coming in, not as much on Sunday, but especially earlier in the weekend, just hitting, he couldn't miss his putts. So it was really a complete, you know, golf, hey, here's how to do it, even though we all know it ain't that simple.
But you talk to us, like, what do you think about the weekend and the tours and all that stuff?
So first off, I think that Tony Finau will have a hard time like outperforming being known by the guy that got a hole in one and then dislocated his fucking ankle during a practice round. I mean, the crazy thing is he ended up playing in that tournament, but yeah, I think that he'll have a hard time outperforming that. I think that first to start with the LIV tournament, I think it was awkward as hell to watch Greg Norman walk onto the tee box and shake hands with Phil Mickelson and then do like kind of like a half hug, like pat on the back with Dustin Johnson. It almost as if it was like the first time that these three had like met each other.
Yeah.
It was just awkward. I think it's stupid that if I like just random like I'm waiting to see like how high of a score wins 120K in this LIV tour.
Yeah.
Like if the first one was plus 24, like what the fuck?
If I plus 40s, I'm throwing my name out there. Like,
dude, if I'm one of those guys, I'm like, I
no signed contract. Just let me fucking enter the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
120,000 will solve a lot of my problems. Not all of them, but a lot.
A lot, definitely.
Yeah. So that to begin with, ridiculous. Charles Schwartzel, I think that I read that he had a career earnings before signing with LIV of $20 million. He made $4.25 million winning this tournament. That's 20% of his career earnings, which is just ridiculous to see that he has 6 more tournaments with this incredible payout because it's 7, right? They've like guaranteed for this year, I think.
8.
Is it 8? Okay.
Yeah, there's 8 tournaments.
So he's got 7 more tournaments of at least 120K taking last fucking place. But yeah, I think it's just ridiculous to see the money. I don't know what he signed for to play there, but I know the guy that made 120K this past weekend signed for $6 million, so he had to have signed for way more. When it comes to the Saudi thing and the morality, like you guys talked about, I think the unfortunate part of this is that this is the only backing that has the stupidity of money to compete with PGA.
Yeah.
Like if there's ever going to be someone that can get to going against the PGA like on a weekly basis without the sponsors, without the TV time, it would have to be the gas money in Saudi Arabia. I mean, they asked the dude that's like one of the CFOs or something like that of the league. He's the CEO of Saudi Aramco, whatever the fucking oil company is. But they asked him like, how far away is his gimme putt when he plays with any of these guys? Since he's like the fucking head benefactor of the tour of this league, and they're like, is it over or under 6 feet? And he's like, no comment.
The whole green, just
yeah.
green,
As long as you're not in the water, you're good. Hole in one. But yeah, I think Rory had an amazing weekend. I mean, I think that we talked shit on him in our league picks. I think he waited till the second.
I believe you talked shit in your league picks.
I did, but I scared both you from picking him in the first round.
The only reason I didn't.
I wasn't. Yeah, I was gonna say.
He was there.
I didn't. Scotty Scheffler was there. I wasn't skipping Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't realize that you took him second. I thought that you did with the snake draft. I thought that you took him as your third pick.
No.
But
I was sitting there like you guys like kept not picking him. I was like, oh shit, I get to take Rory too.
Yeah,
why not?
the second round it was
week's
him
John
and Cam
Rahm.
Smith, and I was like,
Yeah.
When has Cam Smith not done me wrong? And then you benched him after the first day, and then he comes back and finishes top 20.
Yeah.
But
because I listened to George.
Rory's -8 on the final day, along with Justin Rose, just ridiculous. I mean, like I said before, just it couldn't have happened at a better weekend. I mean, the only thing that could have made this better is Tiger playing in the tournament. It would have completely overshadowed any of the money with the LIV Tour had they had just that added measure to this part. Just ridiculous. I think that it's going to be hard for LIV to compete. I mean, even with only having the 8 main events in total, it's just going to be hard, even with all the money. I think that their contracts are also after this year. They're going to stay the same for next year. And like during next year when they're signing people, they're going to get lower because they're not quite sure that they're going to keep the league going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I had said at the beginning that 3 years is the time frame that they're going to know whether this league is going to work or not.
Just the last thing I want to add to, like I said, I think the PGA Tour can learn a few things. Like I said, pay them a little bit more money. Hey, maybe 3-day tournaments will work, especially here and there. But there was another tournament this weekend. It was on the DP World Tour, and it was a mixed tournament, so they had girls and guys. I don't know if it was the LPGA or just European women's, whatever. Or just any woman could go enter this event. The lady's name was Lynn Grant, and she whooped the field's ass by 8 strokes. So that was badass to see. Like she could not, especially on Sunday, she would not
Just
miss.
hidden from the female tees, right?
No, I believe they all played from the same tees.
Really?
Yeah, I swear to God, I'm pretty sure they all played.
Check into that.
I might, but
that's a massive feat if she played from the same tees.
Regardless, I think it'd be cool as shit to see the PGA and the LPGA like do an event like that. Like maybe take the Zurich Classic rather than have it be like a weird team event, and make it a mixed event and a 4-day tournament, and say, hey, just go out there and prove, not necessarily that they have to prove anything, but just hey, like go out there and hey, who's better? Who's the
Go
best
out
golfers
there
in the
and
world?
prove your pay difference.
But I think that'd be really cool to see, like a PGA tournament versus LPGA, like kind of thing. Either do it like do it teams, like girls versus guys, or just straight up singles mixed tournament. I think that'd be a lot of fun to see. Seeing how well it worked at that tournament, at the Scandinavian mixed masters or whatever they call it. That was really cool to see. And just the fact that she whooped her ass by 8 strokes was awesome to me. And that, like I said, she couldn't miss. She was, I was out playing golf Sunday morning, and we looked over, and I think she was on like 13 or something, and she made a ridiculous putt for birdie. She was like 30 feet out, and it was like down a slope and everything, and she just hit it. And as soon as she hit it, she started walking behind it and walked into the hole. And I was like, I'm sorry, the fuck.
Walking a 30-footer.
Yeah, but that was so cool to see. Like I said, I think that'd be cool for the PGA to try out with the LPGA.
I think it would be cool for them to try out. The only way that they don't get it to be a one-off is if it's an incredible tournament like this past one that you're referring to. I think that it's kind of hard because when it comes to the women, they don't have the social following that the guys on the PGA Tour have right now. I mean, for me personally, the only person that I know that plays on the LPGA is Michelle Way, and that's only because she's sponsored by Nike and she's married to NBA legend Jerry West's son.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would be cool. But aside from it being a one-off, I think they need to have it be a spectacular tournament like this past weekend.
Yeah. Could you imagine like the final groupings walking down 18 and like some say Lynn Grant is just whooping Justin Thomas's ass by like 4 strokes, rolls in there going,
Right.
But
what
they wouldn't be able to
fuck?
play from the same tees.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did. No, I'm pretty sure they did.
No. I'm saying if they did with this in the PGA and the
Well,
LPGA.
the DP World Tour is just like, I mean, it's either like it's
Rory's,
professional golfers.
Rory's bombing it 340 yards. No fucking girl is hitting it 300 yards.
I'm not saying they would hit 340, but obviously they're doing good enough that they're able to keep pace.
But the LPGA, they're playing from the women's tees. They're not like in their own league. I'm saying. So I'm saying if they all of a sudden have to move back 70 yards,
I still want to see it.
I agree. I'm just saying that for the PGA and the LPGA, for it to be a
fucking misogynist
tournament, for it to be competitive. No, I mean, if they want to play their tournament, the Black Tees, then they should do that every week.
Yeah, I get what he's saying.
No, yeah.
But
yeah, no. Nick, what do you think about the mixed tournament?
Hey, I mean, like I will be honest. So, I watch the tournaments mainly on Fubo, and there's this weird like transition period. At least there was this weekend. I haven't noticed it in weekends prior, but I believe it's on CBS Golf, and then it switches to whatever the late one is, and it would shut off like, so say like the 1 o'clock or the 3 o'clock time, it would shut off like 2:50, and then wouldn't show up on whatever the later one was until like 3:05. So I ended up watching. I forget what it was. It was like the Cider Cup or something like that, or Kreider Cup. It was a women's like 2v2 scramble, and I mean, I don't think I happened to witness any of their drives now that I think about it, but like their irons, I've seen a little bit of in the putting. Like I'd be willing to watch a weekend where the guys are going against the girls, or mixed, whatever the situation may be. Just because, like, I have weirdly enough watched a little bit of female golf other than this weekend, and like they do put on a hell of a show. Like, I'll be one. I think George and I might have talked about it. Like, there's a big difference between men's sports and women's sports. That's why, like, the pay difference, for example, since you brought it up, they don't bring in the same fans. For whatever reason that may be, whether it's less exciting, whether it's this, whether it's that, whatever. But as someone who's tried to open themselves up more to women's sports lately, I've definitely found that there is, it's still exciting. You might like women's basketball, for example. You might not have people jumping from 20 foot away from the rim, grabbing an alley oop and throwing it down. But nonetheless, like there are still aspects of it that are exciting. So again, I'd be completely open, and just like whatever the hell George just said her name was, I'm sure there would be women out there that, I don't know about necessarily Rory or Justin Thomas or somebody like that, but, would probably put some of these PGA players to shame. So, I'm all for it.
Just real quick, I looked it up. So I was wrong. They did use different tee boxes, but depending on the whole length, they're only 30 to 50 yards in difference. So I mean, it's not like I mean, it's still obviously
That's their drive difference.
I was gonna say, yeah,
So
there's a
the same
difference.
irons.
Yeah,
Like,
basically,
yeah.
and that's what they said. I looked at it. It said that the goal of it is to create equitable or equal approach shots. So like,
Right.
but still, I mean, regardless, I would still.
Yeah, so I feel like that's correct in that, like, it would be hard for the tour average for PGA and the tour average for the women's league of the LPGA
Mhm.
to tee off from the same tees and it be fair. Not because
Right.
I don't think girls could tee off at that. It's just like from a strength power perspective, there's differences
Mhm. Yeah, I mean,
in all
absolutely,
sports.
yeah.
So, and in golf, I mean, if Rory, who's an exception, can drive it 340 yards on a specific hole,
Mhm.
and the number one LPGA player can drive it like
He's over here thinking about
305.
Pride Month. He's like
Yeah.
the top LGBTQ plus player over here.
Well, they're not excluded either, just to make that clear. But
Right. Yeah. We're not excluding anyone. But
Yeah.
anyway,
And
if the difference is 40 yards for the top players,
Mhm.
I mean, it's just going to continue on for as you go down in the competition. So
Yeah.
it's nice that they play from the different tees for a fairness standpoint. Do you guys have any more on golf, or do you want to
No.
move into NASCAR?
No, we can talk about that. Just the last thing I want to say is just I still think regardless it'd be cool to have them do an event, and just real quick, like you said, like the females aren't as popular. I think it'd be a great opportunity to give them more coverage and not only just expose everybody to like, hey, listen, the LPGA is really, really good. You need to go watch them. But like, think about like all the dads that sit there and watch golf all day on weekends. They probably have daughters. Like half of them have to have a daughter that's probably sitting there like, Dad, can we watch like My Little Ponies or something? And be like, hey, listen, look, watch this event. Like, there's like we can go out and start golfing together, stuff like that. I think that'd be cool to see. And just overall, I think it'd be just overall a good event to try and work out. It was really cool to see it work as well as it did for the DP World Tour. I think it's at least something to consider, if not try out for the PGA.
The only comment I have on that, though, is that I think anyone that's actually going to get into golf, like daughter, son, whatever, I don't think that they're able to watch either league live because their tournaments and and matches and stuff are going on at the same time, like weekend play. But like you said, moving into NASCAR, this past weekend they were in Sonoma, first time in a couple years.
No, they've been there. No, this year they switched the layout, so they used to have the carousel turn, and this year they went back to the normal NASCAR layout.
So they were there. It was a roller coaster of events. I mean, Kyle Larson was on rails for the beginning of the race. Then it turned into Chris Buescher, and then at the end it ended up being Daniel Suarez who walked away with the win. I mean, I think he led like the last 25 laps or something like that, along with some laps early in the race. He ended up being the race high leader. What were your guys' thoughts on Daniel Suarez's win, his amigos dancing in California, and everything NASCAR this weekend?
I think overall, not just in NASCAR, it was a great weekend of motorsports. Not talked about enough. We had the 24-hour Le Mans, one of the hardest races in the world, and that was going on this weekend. A lot of drama over there as well. Corvette got taken out with like 20 minutes left in the race, which pissed me off. But as far as NASCAR goes, Daniel Suarez deserved this victory, without a shadow of doubt. He's come so close so many times. You'd be hard pressed to find a non-racist person that hates Daniel Suarez. He's just a very likable guy, especially amongst his competitors. I think the only person in the field that doesn't like him is Mike McDowell. And even then, I think they squashed their beef. I don't think they hate each other as much anymore. But it was so cool to see him finally get his first victory. He was an Xfinity Series champion. I feel like Gibbs gave up on him way too early, which I kind of understand that you have all these guys in the pipeline that are winners. You got to get somebody in the car that will win. I don't think Stuart Haas put enough around him to even attempt to win. And even then, he still wasn't finishing terrible. And then he goes on. I think it was like Go Fast Racing or something he did for a year, and nobody ever expected anything to come out of that. So after his teammate had already won twice this year, and he has come close so many times, to see him finally get his win was really special. I texted you guys, like I started tearing up. Like, he was doing his interviews and stuff, and like all the fans were there, and that was just so cool to see. But I hope this is the start of many wins for him in the future. And don't look now, but Trackhouse has become one of the top teams in NASCAR in just 2 years. I think they're going to start, maybe not this year, but who knew, 2-3 years from now, they can be threatening, competing very high level for championships and so on. But yeah, just overall, just a terrific weekend in racing. Very happy for Daniel. The Road America race in IndyCar was great. I missed half of it because I was driving home, but watching the highlights, and I actually went back and watched the full race on YouTube last night. That was a great race. It always is at Road America. And like I said, the 24-hour Le Mans, you had the F1 race, which was a classic. Fucking Ferrari. I'm gonna need to find a new team because I can't deal with a team that lets me down every weekend like all my other sports teams. So
got Netflix somewhere.
Yeah. So yeah.
Nick, what were your sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, just great weekend. I had no complaints.
It was. Nick, what were your thoughts this past weekend? I'll broaden the topic because George made it very known that there was more than just NASCAR this weekend. What were your thoughts on motorsports this weekend? Daniel Suarez in California, the Amigos dancing, everything.
Yeah, George touched on a lot of it. Great race in Road America.
It's not the only thing I touched on.
He's not wrong.
His
The
hand behind him.
NASCAR race. The NASCAR race. I'm right there with George. Suarez deserved this race. I'm happy to see that he finally got his win. Like you said, he had some close calls. A great weekend in racing. I believe the Bristol race for the Outlaws with the 410s and the sprint cars was also this weekend.
No, they're at Knoxville.
Or Knoxville, yeah, sorry.
Which I mean, just as big of a track, but
yeah, either way.
in name, not in size, obviously, but in name.
In name.
They might be close to the same size. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm distracted.
They don't seem like it. Oh, you're good, nonetheless. But no, it was a good weekend of racing all around. Couldn't really complain. None of my favorite drivers got a win, but it is what it is. Can't have that every weekend. So, it was. I didn't get to watch as much as I wanted to, but the little bit I did. Of the NASCAR race and the IndyCar race were both exciting, both entertaining. So I'm still glad to see that, halfway through the season or so, I don't know exactly, but that NASCAR is still
right at
trending
halfway
in the right direction. Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was somewhere.
I know it's really close because they're switching from Fox to NBC, and I know that's normally like right at the halfway point.
10 races left in the regular season.
And then there's 10 playoff races, so there's 20.
There's 36 total.
It's 2 races before halfway, so.
Okay, yeah.
Or 1.
So
I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, the All-Star race was the half point of the regular season.
Okay.
No, it wasn't.
No, that wouldn't make.
There's 36 races. There's 20 left.
Total. No. 10 is the playoffs. I'm saying the halfway point of the regular season was the All-Star break.
No, it wasn't.
Regular season.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. The regular season.
What I'm saying is correct.
Okay, I'm sorry. But I kept hearing just halfway point of the season. I'm like, no, it's fucking not. It's in May. The season doesn't end until November. Okay, you're right. I apologize, Slade.
You're good, George. You don't get that out of him too often. So.
No. Just the last thing I want to say about Nick's favorite drivers. One of them is Rossi. I think he's only 75 points back.
75 points behind. Yeah. Yep.
Second last week. I know. I'm probably jinxing him, and I'm sorry in advance. Second last week, third this week, and a pole. I think we talked about he's going to Aaron McLaren next year, who might overall give him a better shot at a championship. But I mean, he's going to be fighting until the very end, and I think it's the IndyCar championship. We're going to talk about this more in another week. It's going to be so cool to watch come down to the end. It's going to be very, very close.
Yeah, because he's 75 behind, and he's 7th, I think.
Yeah.
Which means there's 5 people in between him and the leader that are less than 75 points away.
Yeah.
So that'll get in.
And also, shout out to Joseph Newgarden. They had a prize this year for the first person to win on an oval, a road course, and a street course. And Joseph Newgarden did that and got $1 million for charity, which was just cool to see.
Yeah,
Um,
million
you
for
know
him,
his charity?
million for his team, and million for his charity.
yeah.
That I'm not sure.
Wait.
Just
I did see it, and I can't think of the name.
It's all right.
But it's hard to hate on Newgarden. He's just such a likable guy. He has a great personality. So very cool to see him do that. And the weird thing is he's second in points right now somehow. So yeah, like I said, it's gonna be a great IndyCar season as it always
for
is.
sure. And NASCAR is still trending in the right direction. So
Yeah. So Slade, you
Racing
tell us all about what you thought of Daniel's Amigos and the weekend full of racing.
Nick, do you have any more?
no,
Fuck
no,
Nick.
I'm good. I'm good. George doesn't even like me. I don't know how I was the best man at his wedding.
Oh my god. Anyway, so
The
I-
racing, it gets the blood
yeah,
boiling.
It does.
blood boiling. Yeah, it does.
Ra-
More
racing
than
and football.
yeah,
Can't wait for
It's
college
coming. It's
football.
coming.
I'm like a better version of Maryland rather than crab cakes and football. I'm racing and football.
racing.
I do love a good crab cake though.
And hockey.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude. Hockey's another level. I'll become a Rangers fan, punch somebody in the face for some hockey. I'm just kidding. I won't do that. I'm not a douchebag.
Yeah, he would never
Fully,
become a Rangers fan.
I'm not a full douchebag. I'm a douchebag. I'm not a full douchebag.
That's up to debate, but no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Anyway, so I don't watch the IndyCar other than the Indy 500. That was the only Indy race I've watched this season. That would be the only Indy race I watched this season.
No, you definitely need to start watching some here and there, especially
If you can watch NASCAR races consistently, you got to sit
Yeah.
down and watch.
I don't even watch them though. I'm driving to work. I listen to it on the radio
Oh,
yeah.
that's
Well,
fair.
because I was telling George before this.
well, guess what? You can listen to
Wow.
the fucking IndyCar on the radio.
Yeah.
I bet on the NASCAR during pit stops.
Yeah, they were, and I was like, I really wish you would have
Green
texted
flag,
me.
green
So
flag. Sorry, that makes a big difference. Green
it's
flag
green-
pit stops.
yeah,
I
Hey,
bet on
God.
3 of the top 5. They were the only 5 that didn't pit yet.
I was like, I really wish you would have texted me so I could have told you, like, hey, don't bet on them.
Yeah, right.
So, anyway,
But
I
don't
think it
text
was
and drive,
amazing-
kids.
Don't do that.
I
Okay, I'm
think
sorry,
it was
now go ahead.
amazing. I think it was amazing that Daniel Suarez was able to get the win this weekend.
Yeah.
I thought for sure that Chris Buescher was going to get the win based on how they were running at the end there. I didn't even really think that Daniel Suarez stood a chance because going into the last, it was the only 4 cautions for the race. So the 4th caution of the race, which was in the 3rd stage, Ross Chastain had the better car of the 2 Trackhouse teams and of 2 Trackhouse cars. They had made the comment that Daniel Suarez's team said that the 10th turn was the turn that he needed to do better in. That was the only turn he wasn't doing better than Ross Chastain in, and that was affecting his run. Crazy to think that one turn is what defined him running in 7th place all day versus 1st. But it's just amazing to see how a set of green flag pit stops and just making an adjustment for that turn was able to really turn things around for him. I thought it was amazing that I really want to be able to listen back to the Deportes, ESPN Deportes channel of them announcing when he won, and just because it's always crazy when they announce for like soccer games and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Or the NBA finals when that one guy gets on there and they're like he talks in Spanish and they're like, I don't know. And then he says it in English and they're like, oh, okay. Now but yeah, it was amazing to see him win. I think it was his turn. He's had a tough go at it. I think NASCAR is also one of the only sports that it's mainly based on talent. I think that at any point a team could have given him a ride to help with the diversity program because that's how he came up. He came up driving for the diversity program, and he's really, like you guys said. I mean, he was at Joe Gibbs. They basically told him that unless he wants to go to Xfinity, his spot's gone. And then he went to Stewart Haas Racing and in an okay time there, but he wasn't given the correct equipment, like George had said. That was about the time that they were kind of switching over to Ford because they were at Chevy before that. And so it was just a rough go for him. I mean, it's really nice to see that his time is coming right now. He couldn't be racing for a better team. I think that this season can only be described by how Michael McDowell has described it, in that he was used to just trying to race to place in the top 30. And now he's competing in the top 5 on a weekly basis, which is just crazy to think. I mean, we've seen it with Hendrick the most this season. Everything that they use is given to them or bought from the same manufacturer as everyone else. So NASCAR supplies all the pit road equipment. We saw on Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson that the lug nut gun is something that can malfunction. I mean, before teams were purchasing the best of the best, top of the market stuff. Now they're using kind of middle market stuff, and every team is given the same exact stuff. Anyone's can default at any point. Before you were seeing where maybe like Roush Fenway Racing, Front Row Motorsports, different teams like that would have had like middle of the road stuff that they could afford. And so they would have the pit road stuff. You would have never seen Joe Gibbs or Hendrick Motorsports having any problems on pit road when it came to the equipment. And this season has really shown that that was a big difference. Pit road has made a big difference because before this season, there was a lot of like controversy as to whether NASCAR should get rid of televising the pit stops because there wasn't a lot of changes. Maybe one guy gained a couple spots because they took 2 tires instead of 4, or their team got them off a little quicker. It's made a big difference this year with everything being equalized. And so I think that that's the reason why people like Daniel Suarez, Michael McDowell, we've seen Chris Buescher, just a lot of guys have gotten to show that when it comes to actually being a good driver, they're able to showcase their skills with this new car. Aside from that, I don't think anything else really piqued my interest with NASCAR this weekend, aside from betting for guys that didn't even fucking pit. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's difficult to see the pit road problems for a team like Hendrick Motorsports that never really had those problems. I mean, if I had to guess, just like their drivers, they're paying the best of the best to be on pit road. Obviously, it's human error, but when the machines are the problem, it's just difficult to watch. Did you guys have any comments on the pit road stuff this weekend, or did you want to?
Just my biggest issue with the pit road stuff is a fucking 4-week suspension for the crew chief and the tire changer.
For the tire coming off.
That's bullshit.
Dude.
The one lug wheel is the stupidest fucking thing ever. It should go back to the 5 lugs. But 2, like we have seen it, like multiple teams have had that thing on, and it just strips itself off if you over tighten it. And
if they don't put it on correctly at the start, it's going to automatically strip it.
Great. And listen, if you would say, "Hey, you're suspended for a week," I feel like it'd be a lot more. 4 weeks is beyond outrageous to me.
Yeah.
And I think a total of $150,000 fine.
Yeah, I think the
crew chief and the team.
That's just my biggest problem. Like it's cool to see, like you said, like these top tier teams having problems. I mean, it sucks as a Kevin Harvick fan watching his crew struggle every goddamn week. But like you think back, like I said, I think 4 weeks for anybody, top or bottom team, is just way too egregious and atrocious. And that needs to be reduced to at least a week, if not just no suspension and a hefty fine or whatever for the team, whatever. That's just my biggest thing.
You agree, Nick, or do you think differently?
I mean, I agree. I don't really feel 4 weeks is ridiculous, especially considering, we've had these issues the whole season. I don't know. Sounds like NASCAR are having a really good season, and they're like, oh, maybe there's one way that we can piss people off real quick, and I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, to touch on what George said with Kevin Harvick, he was my dark horse for the race. The entire time I was listening, he was battling. He was the largest mover from the start of the race. He had started near the back. He was fighting with Ross Chastain leading up to the end of stage 2 for like 11th place.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was in the top 5 after the yellow flag at the midway point of the 3rd stage. And then, like George said, he just had a shitty pit stop during that green flag pit stop. It just ran like 4 or 5 seconds long, and at a road course, you can't have that.
Yeah. But I mean, even then, watching him battle back to, I think he finished 4th, was still good to see. His season is definitely going in the right direction, the right trajectory. But it'll be interesting to see if he can, because I feel like we are heading towards 16 different winners this year. We're already at 12, I'm pretty sure. So there's
10 races with 4 spots that aren't winners right now.
Yeah, so you were going to need a win to get into the playoffs, and even then, I mean, who knows what happens if we end up having 16 or 17 winners, and I'm not 100% sure what the criteria is there, but we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, like I said, his season's heading in the right direction. He is somebody who wants to win and not only needs to win, but has the desire. We obviously know he has a talent. I think Sorkas as a whole has just struggled the last 2 years. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of his season goes in the regular season, at least, and if he can get into the playoffs.
Agreed. Moving into our next topic, it's more of a would you rather. So this week, would you rather shoot a 90 on any course consistently or win one of any of the prestigious races of your choice? I'll start with George. What's your thoughts on that?
I made this question specifically for George. I just want to put that out there.
I figured.
I think you had to change the golf score to get a
Yeah.
little bit closer of a reaction.
No.
But
I did.
So my biggest, and Slade and I briefly discussed this before we hopped on here. Listen, I would love to shoot 90 regularly, but for me, like where I'm at in my life right now, that's something I feel like I can continue to work towards. Obviously, I still need to worry about breaking 100, but once I do that, I'm like, hey, the next goal is 90, and that's something I know I can go work on. I can go get golf lessons. I can so on and so forth. I know I'm not gonna race in my life. I would love to, and I mean, and there's like random
tall.
Yeah, there's random like pro-am series. Like I was telling you guys, like there's a series that runs up and down the East Coast that like you just show up with a team, you sign up, and you don't have to have any experience, and they will throw you in an endurance race. And it's that was a wild concept for me to learn, but two, like that'd be awesome to do. But like I told Slade, so you win a prestigious race, but for me, I would want to win the Indy 500. Like for me, it'd be Indy 500, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the Monaco Grand Prix, and then the Daytona 500. For one, the rest of your life, you're known as the winner of that race, like that prestigious race. Two, you get a shit ton of money from that. And three, like if I go break 90 regularly at my home golf course, nobody's gonna give a shit. Nobody cares. Like Slade said, oh, some of the locals are gonna know. I'm like, I don't care. Millions of people will know my name if I go out and win that race, and I'm gonna have millions of dollars most likely. So for me, I would take the race.
Nick, what are your thoughts on the question?
Yeah, it's funny because I wrote this up and I was like, yeah, this might get George a little bit, and then I was like, well, fuck, like, what would I choose? It was honestly pretty tough for me. I honestly, just the competitor that I am, as someone who's gotten first place in tournaments, someone who's been pretty damn near dead last, or if not dead last in tournaments.
Real quick, he's not talking about golf, by the way.
No, not golf, not golf. Sorry, not golf. I'd be lucky to break double this. No, just kidding. I'm not that terrible, but nonetheless, for me, like could you imagine 180? I'd sell my clubs. I'd sell them super fast. Like if I would have went out there the first time, shot like a 185, I'd be like, you know what, this ain't it. But nonetheless, and as someone who grew up watching racing, the Daytona 500, I wasn't really aware of the Indy 500. I knew of it. I shouldn't say I wasn't aware, but as far as the full spectacle of it until George got me into IndyCar. And since I've watched that, like that's one thing, that I've learned to appreciate. But me personally, I would rather shoot 90 consistently because like if I'm under 90, sort of like George said, I can work towards under that. But like I know I can drive fast. And I know that I can drive decent. I've never been like in an official like race environment or anything like that, but like I know how to move a fucking car. Like so.
Start with turning the key.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I push. Well, no, I don't push a button now anymore, but I used to push a button. But golf for me, the one thing that I think keeps driving me to want to go golfing, and whether it's the range or actually on a course. I debated going to a range this weekend, and I was like, no, if I go, I'm going to a course. I don't care. Because I go to a range and I hit decent, and then I go to the course and I hit like shit. So I'm like, I don't even care. I'm going to go to the course until like I find a good rhythm, and then I'll go to a range and, work on some other stuff or whatever. But the competitor in me wants to go out there, and like every time I shoot like shit, I'm like, I wish I would do anything to be 30 strokes better. So for me personally, I'd want to go out there and shoot 90, especially like because of the love for golf that I've gained recently and being out there, and whether it's with the boys or whether it's just one other person and just chilling or whatever it is. Like I already love this game, and like I drive Jade crazy because I ask her all the time, "Can I go golfing? Can I go golfing?" And usually we have plans, so I don't end up going golfing. But it's crazy how that works. But nonetheless, like it would be my favorite sport in the world if I could shoot under 90. So
Well,
just the competitor in me.
here's the last biggest thing I want to share with you too. If you break 90, what does it get you? Nothing. Like you're not gonna end up on a tour or anything like that.
You might win the Meadowbrook tournament.
Yeah.
But again, that gets you nothing. Even so, think in your head, you're gonna
That's
break
$100 and a free hot dog at the tour shop.
But think about it, you break 90, okay, and you're doing it consistently. You're gonna be pissed that you can't like go, and you're gonna try to get lower, and you might. You're gonna be pissed you can't get lower and be like, hey, I can go on the tour, or whatever. Then it's gonna just keep eating at you more. The competitive side of me
Dude, if I'm
wants to
breaking
go
90,
win a fucking race.
Okay, but listen, if I'm
if you
breaking
can get
90,
to
I'm making
80
at least 120K over in Saudi Arabia. So
Yeah.
No, you're not. He shot
You gotta
plus
get to
8.
80.
I was gonna say he
You
shot
gotta
plus
get to 80.
8.
You gotta get to 80.
That's 80.
Oh shit, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm close though. I'm close.
Yeah,
I
you
have
10
I have a
shots
good
off.
weekend. I'm making 120K in Saudi. Fuck. All right, so 80 then. I debated on making it down to 80, but then that got into PGA Tour range, so I was like, I felt like that was kind of.
That's why I originally said that you had to make the score lower to change George's mind or to make him think about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
If it was 80, I'd be hard pressed to say no because I mean I don't know the Q school requirements and Corn Fair, but at that point, if I'm breaking 80, I know that I can work harder and harder and harder to get down to touching the low 70s, and then hey, let me go take Q school and all this other stuff and try and qualify to get onto a tour to go make money to play golf. But breaking 90, I don't give a shit about breaking that. Like,
See,
I want
felt
to
like making it 80. Yeah.
yeah, I would
felt like making it
love
80
to go
was
out there
too
and break
easy of a
90.
decision.
Yeah. I would love to go out there and break 90. But say if you're telling me I could go run the Indy 500, win it, and take home millions of dollars, I'm taking the fucking money. First of all, and like I said, the fame that comes with it. Whereas if I break 90, nobody's gonna give a shit about that. Other than like you guys and like whatever, even like if you think about it, like if you enter like your local club tournaments, most of the guys that win that are like shooting like low 80s or if without cheating. But like,
yeah,
right.
So I don't know. For me, like, give me the money and the fame, and I'm gonna go win the Indy 500, the whatever. So, Slade, what would you rather do?
So I think
we're
that
making it
the
80 since 90 was too easy.
I
Yeah.
think that the question realistically would have been good at 85. I think that 80, like George said, makes you think that you actually have a chance at making the tour. I think 90 is like sort of like George had said. Like, I mean, I won the Meadowbrook tournament. What the fuck does that get me?
Free hot dog, boy.
I also think that it, for me personally, I think it would be funny if this podcast continues and we can keep it going. If I can break 85, dude, I'm keeping the fucking Jaguar Sports Cup
The
forever.
fuck you are. If you're breaking 85, I'm breaking 70.
No. I'm saying if I personally, you chose the Indy 500.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're still shooting the
you're shooting
110 right
110
now.
the rest of your life.
So you have to drop 25 strokes to get with what I consistent. I'm saying hypothetically.
Yeah, right.
Obviously,
Yeah.
you're better at golf in general, but I'm saying hypothetical question here.
I don't know if I say that.
Than me, yeah, I'm saying. But I'm saying
Again, there's a reason you got the fucking trophy. Until
That's
I take
true.
the fucking
That's
trophy.
putt.
In all fairness,
we were
50%
tied.
of that 50% of that went down to putting. So, and we all know
Right.
you suck at putting. So,
But anyway,
This weekend,
I'm
I actually
just
wasn't
saying-
bad.
But anyway, I'm just
We'll
saying.
talk about it later.
The only reason I would take the golf is just because
Yeah.
it would be for bragging rights between the three of us. Because if George is taking NASCAR and
As long as I'm better than Nick at golf, I don't give a shit.
oh well, that ain't hard.
but
I don't even know how you used the clubs you gave to me before you gave them to me.
on his knees.
Yeah, probably. That's how I'm about to start using them.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
you're
think
used to
that-
doing shit on your knees.
Oh, I'm a pro on my knees.
All right. So anyway, we all made our points. On to our top 5 of the week. Top 5 of the week was presented by Nick this week. Game day beverages. I'm gonna start with George. What's your thoughts?
Number 5, I saw your top 5 already. I'm taking water. You need to keep yourself hydrated. You can't just pound drink after drink after drink. You need to have some water in there, break it up, especially if you go to like either an event over the summer, baseball game, golf tournament, whatever it may be, or like an early season football game. It's gonna be hot as hell. You need to have some water in you, on top of all the alcohol. Number 4, I'm going with any seltzer. I'm not a big seltzer guy, but I will definitely drink them if that's all I have. Actually, I lied. 5 seltzer, 4 water. Number 3, I am gonna go with just a classic soda. I mean, a lot of sporting events, like we were talking earlier a couple weeks ago about Penn State. Penn State doesn't have beer.
They do in the club section.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, I'm too fucking poor to afford that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I didn't know. I don't know how long they've had that, but
Yeah.
I didn't know either until Erica's dad got us tickets this past weekend or this past year for the Illinois game, which we left in the third quarter before I went to 8 fucking overtimes.
Probably a good thing.
Yeah, but I mean, like there are definitely venues out there that don't have beer or any liquor at all. So I would definitely take a good soda. Number 3, I'm gonna take Tito's, Tito's and vodka, Tito's and vodka, Tito's and any
Double
mixer.
down, double
Yeah,
Yeah,
down.
no, right?
Yes, sir.
But Tito's and any mixer. I love the Azalea drink at the Masters. That's vodka. People use gin. If you use gin for the Azalea, you're fucking disgusting. But I love a good screwdriver. A transfusion. I don't know if you guys have ever had those. It's grape juice, vodka, and I think something, I forget what the third ingredient is, but those are delicious on the golf course. Vodka is just a great versatile drink. I know a lot of people don't like it. I mean, personally, tequila or whiskey is my go-to, but I can't drink that shit if I'm going to be sitting at a sporting event all day or tailgating, whatever. So it has to be vodka. Number 1, obviously beer. I mean, it's hard to beat that for, like I said, a tailgate or at any sporting event. Love me a good Michelob, just because that's probably more readily available at those events. But if I can bring my own, I'm bringing Busch Light, obviously. But that's my top 5.
Nick, what's your top 5?
Yeah, so somewhat similar here. 5, I went water, which I'm pretty sure we all did because it's necessary. Especially a lot of sporting events you go to, they're hot. Got to get a little something.
Listen, I'm just proud that all of us can recognize that water deserves a place on this top 5.
Somewhere. We might not
Were
drink
you
as much
thinking
of
it
it as we
before I
should.
put it?
Oh no, I was. I 100%. I just didn't write my stuff down. I don't know if George was, but I was debating it, putting it higher than 5 because I'm constantly drinking some sort of liquid, and typically it's water because it's like the cheapest. But nonetheless, 4, I have lemonade. I like going to a good ballpark, especially if you go like not necessarily to a pro sport, but like I go to Jade's nephew's baseball games, and yeah, they have soda, but certain places they got a lemonade, especially the fresh squeezed lemonade. Always bussin'. 3, I have the soda. I'm not a huge soda drinker, but as far like I get so tired of drinking water that I need something with flavor, and typically soda is the next best choice. And it's always at any sporting event ever. Number 2, I have Trulies only because I recently got put onto them, and they're delicious, at least the ones that I've had, and they go down pretty well. I'm not a big fan of like any sort of liquor or anything like that when it comes to sporting events, typically because that shit goes down real easy for me, and I'll be too drunk to watch the sporting event. And number 1, I have Busch lattes because that's just about the only like beer that I'll drink. I've started experimenting a little more recently, but I have gone through the full list of readily available beers at this point in my life, and lattes are the only ones that I can typically still stand to drink. So
Have you seen the shit going on with Keystone and Coors Light right now?
I've seen the Keystone one. I don't know if
Yeah,
Coors
well,
Light
so like Coors Light owns Keystone, so they're honestly
Yeah.
got the same beer. But yeah, like the video you saw with the Keystone's the same stuff going on with the Coors Light right now. That is absolutely disgusting. And I pray to
Yeah.
God I never have to deal with that with Busch Light.
Oh, right.
And it's Slade's turn for the top 5, and he runs away to go get more wings probably. But yeah, no, I saw that and I was like, oh, that's disgusting. And then just today, I saw a Coors Light video and I was like, why would you ever, like, I used to drink Coors Light in college, but like, oh
Yeah,
my
I
God.
drank it when I was younger too.
Like
A few years younger than college.
yeah, seeing that, like I would seeing that, like I would never, like even if I was a diehard Coors Light guy, I would never want to touch Coors Light again. And
I mean, like, and so like my first instinct when I seen that was like, well, I wonder if it's like corn syrup or some
Yeah.
dumb shit like that maybe like isn't mixed properly. But either way, like first of all, just watching that video, I could imagine that like slithering down my throat as I took a sip.
but imagine that, like, and I'm sure it's probably not pure corn. Like if say that is the case,
Yeah.
it probably still has a little bit of beer flavor to it, but like yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
the texture, and if it does taste like pure corn syrup, that's disgusting in its own self. I'm good. Slade, since you're back now, what's your top 5?
Sorry, we're talking about beverages. I was trying to go, and then you just you were like, "Oh, whoa, wait, Coors Light Keystone." I was like, "Oh, fuck." All right.
Perfect time.
So I had originally put my top 5 together. The just in number 5 out of necessity, I had put water. I think that it is definitely important when talking about game day beverages. I mean, if you're just talking about going and doing a fire pit with some buddies or a party or whatever the deal is, then water's probably not going to be one of my top 5. But
Might not
if
make
I'm
the
doing
top 10.
if I'm doing game day, especially if I have tickets to the game, like pre-gaming, like I'm thinking Penn State game or something like that. Definitely need water if you're gonna make it. Number 4, mimosa. I love for game day to be able to wake up, put some champagne in a bottle, and then a little spritz of some orange juice. And
You got to pregame the pregame, and that's what I appreciate about you.
Right. Usually, since we live so close to the stadium, we'll pregame the Uber. So we pregame with mimosas before getting the Uber to the stadium. Number 3, Jello shots. I think that because I work at the hospital and stuff, we do the syringes with the tip on it, so you can just put the Jello shot in there. But any sort of Jello shot, my parents used to make them in like the half orange rind. You can put it in there. Whatever the deal is, I like those. And then number 2, this past year, I was going to the one busing company up in State College, and they have this thing where like they play this one song like every freaking like 30 minutes, and during that song, you have to take a shot, and it's either like rum shata, um, peanut butter whiskey, some other whiskey, or like a pickle shot or something like that. And I like the whiskey shot the best. I mean, peanut butter whiskey Screwball is probably my favorite whiskey right now. I'll do Fireball, but I kind of have already been drinking to do that just because it fucking burns the shit out of my throat.
If I touch Fireball, I throw up, so that's off my list.
I can touch it now, but there was a point in my life where I couldn't even hear Fireball.
You drink one handle. You drink one handle in a full night, and you can't touch it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Right, but I mean, I figured as whiskeys when you're doing game day, Screwball, Fireball, 2 of the cheaper whiskeys. So, number 1, I had beer, Michelob also. I like all kinds of different beers. I don't really have a preference. In college, I kind of drink Natty Light out of the necessity of price.
Didn't we all?
But I feel like
I do love me a good Natter Day though, especially on the golf course.
Oh, the Natter days when it's nice and hot outside. Ooh.
I feel like now, like Natty Light's not even the cheapest option.
Oh no.
I feel like Natty Light's the same price as Busch Light at this point. Different taste, but close to the price.
I realized as I got older that Natty Light wasn't the bottom of the barrel. Right. It was just like the bottom of the tolerable barrel.
Right, and so I think that like Hams or
Old Milwaukee,
something like that's probably cheap. But yeah, Michelob's definitely
Speaking
my go-to.
of water.
Yeah, Michelob's definitely my go-to. So that would be my top 5 for game day beverages.
Solid top 5.
You guys have anything else?
I didn't think of Jello shots. I thought about adding them after I seen them, and I was like, no, because we had the whole debacle in the last top 5 that we started adding after we seen other people, so I just kept it the same.
My problem with Jello shots.
George kept his out because when I asked him about his hockey, he's like, "Well, I guess you'll fucking hear."
Yeah. My problem with Jello shots and doing it's like if you make them right, you don't taste the liquor and they go down way too fast, and then you're done before you even get into the game. So that's why, like I said, like I'll drink like a Tito's and soda or whatever. I can't like I know with that I need to take my time and sip it. Like the beer, I'll shotgun beers with you. I'll play beer pong, whatever we need to do to pregame. But if I start doing Jello shots and they're made properly and you can't taste the vodka or whatever liquor you put in there, it's dangerous and you might not end up even making it to the game. So,
and that's why I don't do the liquor, because like we seen at your wedding, like I get a few, especially whiskey and
I was
Coke.
gonna,
Like
you had more than a few.
that's what I'm saying. I get a few of them in me, and they just start going down.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, taters hold me up. It's
Yeah.
You know who had a few? That fucking kid that went to the fire pit with us afterwards, George. With his
Oh
girlfriend.
yeah. It was a good
That
time
guy.
though. Yeah.
He,
a few of us had a few.
Yeah,
he was
that was a
telling
great
my
time.
dad the entire time about how he really appreciated him talking to him about hunting.
That's
God,
great.
That's good stuff.
But that will do it for our episode this week. We had a great time bringing it to you. U.S. Opens this weekend, so we're gonna have a lot more golf to talk about with you guys next week, along with the NBA, NHL finals. It's the best time of year. I can't complain. And then we got the drafts coming up in just a few short weeks. We're starting our college football previews. So very excited to bring all that stuff to you guys. Everybody have a great rest of your week. Go enjoy the finals. Go enjoy some golf. Take your significant other out on a date. I don't know. Don't roll your eyes at me, Slade. Anyway,
I
that's
took mine to IHOP this morning for
There you go.
the last
was Eileen working
family
there?
of 3 affair. She was not. She was
Eileen.
not.
Was Eileen working at IHOP today?
No,
He
she
said
wasn't.
no.
Okay. You weren't there, Slade. Don't tell me.
Yeah,
No. He had already answered your question.
Oh,
so
I didn't
that's
hear
why
him.
I'm saying that
I
you
missed
didn't-
out on her.
You didn't hear him.
Well, all right. Well, that's our episode.
2-0. Golden State's win.
Oh wow. But all right, we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, see you, everybody.